Hey, thanks again for joining. So in the last couple of videos, we showed how you can use Nanobox to create instant, isolated, local development environments so that you can ultimately just focus on creating your app. And now, this time I want to show you how you can get that app deployed in production. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and get started on nanobox.io. And after you've created an account, you can go ahead and log into your dashboard. And I'm going to launch an app, and you can name your app. In this case, I'm just going to omit the name so that Nanobox names it for me. And here's one of the cool things about Nanobox is that it's going to launch it anywhere you need. So in this demonstration, I have connected two accounts. I have an account on DigitalOcean. I have an account on Amazon Web Services. So I can connect both of those, and I can use either one of them to launch my app. So I'll just grab the default region and hit next. So now what's about to happen is Nanobox is going to order a bare-bones server on my account, and it's going to install the Nanobox app platform that I can then deploy my app onto. And at that point, I can then scale as I need to. And I can see that it's going to launch a really small server, 512 megs of RAM with a single CPU core. But that's all that I'll need to run this app that I can scale later. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we're going to notice here is that Nanobox provides a heads-up display in the dashboard, and we can see that on our behalf, Nanobox is ordering a server for us. And it looks like it decided the name of this app is going to be Icy Island. So after the server is actually ordered from my account, then we move to the more interesting things. So you can see here now that we're provisioning the server. So what's really nice here is to think about all the things that Nanobox is doing that you don't have to do. So Nanobox is taking all of the burden of installing updates to the packages on the system, applying a firewall, configuring the virtual network, installing Docker, securing that server, just getting it all completely set up and ready to then be able to install the platform. So that takes usually about 1 to 2 minutes, kind of depending on the network speed of the underlying provider. And what's really cool is that this process is going to be the same regardless of whether you're running on Amazon or whether you're running on DigitalOcean in this case, or whether that's Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure, really wherever. Nanobox is going to follow the same process. And so to the developer, you really don't have to do anything different from one cloud to the other. Now that that server is up and ready, it's going to install a platform. So the platform is the Nanobox micro platform that handles that takes care of everything that your app needs to run. So like a load balancer and a routing mesh, a warehouse to store the deploys, a logger so that your app can send all of the various logs from the various points, and it can collate those and aggregate those into a single location, and a monitor so that it can keep track of the health of all of your application components, and a message bus so that the dashboard can receive real-time updates whenever anything happens. And so, because Nanobox uses Docker behind the scenes, what we're actually seeing here is that Nanobox is installing a bunch of Docker images, which will then be configured to run as containers and configured to work together for the platform. And so, fortunately, there's a lot of complicated stuff that's happening, and Nanobox can take that away from us, and is nice that it provides a heads-up display to show you every step of the way what it's doing, where it's at, and that should be wrapped up here very shortly. Okay, so while that's finishing, we'll notice that we now have instructions for how to deploy the application. So if I pull up the instructions, I'll notice that yes, I need to install Nanobox. Check, we've done that in the previous demo, and we've also developed the app, which we did in the previous demo. And so now we can add this application as a remote and deploy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that because now I have an application that is ready to be deployed to. So if I go back over to my terminal, I can just paste that in, Nanobox remote add IC Island, which is the name, and now it's linked. The very last thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to tell Nanobox how to run this app once it's in production. So when we go back into our box file, which if you remember from the previous demo, that's where we specified that we needed the Python engine to create the environment that it runs in. So now what we need to do is we need to create a web component, and I will just call this one web.main, and we have to tell it how to start the application. And so in this case, it's this being such a simple Python application, to start the application it's just python app.py. So now that that is all in place, we can go ahead and deploy. So Nanobox deploy, if I can spell it right. And what we're going to see here is Nanobox is going to build the runtime, package it up, and then deploy the runtime up to that application. So looks like the runtime has already been built, created, the application's been compiled, and so now it's just going to upload the runtime. In this case, I think it has the Python executable and runtime, some pip modules to be able to run the Flask application. And where this is the first deploy, it has to send the entire runtime and the application up in its entirety. The next deploy is much quicker because it will actually just analyze the differences and sync those. So it looks like it's on the way. So if we now go back to our browser, we will see that it has received the deploy and it is now configuring the application. So we've launched a new instance. We can see it coming in. It already detects that it's Python, and it's pulling the runtime that we just uploaded from the warehouse platform component. Starts it up, and looks like the application likes the start command. So it's updating the load balancer, and the last thing now to do is to see if the live app is running. And it looks like it's not. So the nice thing about Nanobox is we can hop into the logs and find out why. So, oh look, it looks like we do not have Flask, which is probably because we did not, last time that we did we ran this and we installed Flask. Yep, there it is. It is missing. So here, it's kind of interesting. You can see that the last time we ran this, we did not freeze the pip installation, which meant that we lost all of the requirements. So by freezing those requirements into the requirements.txt, we get a lock of all those. And here we'll go ahead and show you how subsequent deploys will work, because if I exit out of here, I can run Nanobox deploy again, and it will detect that there's been a change to the environment, so it'll go ahead and actually install the necessary modules into the runtime, package it up again, And here you'll see that on the subsequent deploy that it's only going to sync the differences, and it's quite a bit quicker. So I didn't plan for this this oversight, but it does show how we can use Nanobox logs to identify what went wrong, make a change, and deploy again. So as you can see, it's already synchronized the differences, and the deploy is on the way. So I go back to the browser, and we can see that the deploy is on the way, and it's going to go ahead and launch those new instances. And I can actually open this up to get a little bit more granularity if I would like to get a visual display. Kind of cool when you deploy. Nanobox will actually launch a completely new application and get it running side by side the old one, and then only after it's finalized and running will it actually remove the old one. And we can see that that has happened. That it's now going to remove the old one. And there we go. That was our second deploy. So now let's go ahead and see if, hey, the application works. So a little bit longer than I was anticipating here, but kind of the cool thing is you got a sneak peek in what subsequent deploys look like, and also how you can use the log view, the collated logs, to identify the problem and then fix the problem in the code and push again. So hopefully this has been helpful, and hopefully this has given you a sneak peek of how Nanobox can quickly and easily take your application from a local development project to a real application that's running in production, and subsequently deploy continuously to it. So stay tuned. We've got some other cool things in the next videos. Thanks.